Hey guys, it's Sarah. Thank you so much for watching. So today we have part 2 of my Q&A. So in part 1 we discussed more of the makeup related questions, cruelty-free, vegan, vegetarianism, YouTube. Those are all the topics we covered in part 1. So if you missed that one, I will leave it linked down below. So I did have to split this up into 2 parts. In this video we will be talking about more personal questions. So a lot of you guys asked about my job, about just my personal life, all of that. So let's go ahead and get into those questions. So let's talk about travel. A few of you guys had travel related questions. So one of you asked, have you ever traveled abroad? I have. I actually went to Spain last year, like exactly a year ago. It was last April that I went to Spain with a couple of my friends and we had so much fun. It was such a fun trip. We went to Barcelona, Valencia, and Madrid. We also had a 20-hour layover in Iceland on that trip, and so we got to explore a little bit of Reykjavik, and that was so much fun, and I have just been itching to go back to Iceland. So a few of you guys asked, where do you want to go for vacation? If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? Where do you want to travel, etc. So the answer to that at this point would be Iceland. That just really got me so intrigued by that country because it just had a very magical feel to it, and I'm just dying to go back. So that's where I want to go next. The only other place I've been abroad was last summer. Went to Quebec City and Montreal with my mom, and that was a ton of fun as well. Quebec City was my favorite, but I liked them both. Montreal had a lot more like vegan restaurants. So good. But Quebec City was like just very quaint and historic, and that was a lot of fun. So those are the places that I've been out of the US so far. Some music questions. What music have you been listening to lately? And then do you have a favorite song at the moment? So, okay, music I've been listening to lately. I go through phases with different like artists that I've been listening to, but lately I've been really into like Frank Ocean, Ariana Grande. I don't know, who isn't into Ariana Grande these days? But those are a couple. I've been listening to like some Hozier. Is that how you say that? Hozier? I never know how to say it, but listening to them, a few of their new songs. Another whole genre that I've been really into for the past like several months has been lo-fi music. There's a lot of different lo-fi playlists, but it's usually instrumental. It's very like chill and kind of, it's got like a beat to it. And I mean, all music does, but you know what I mean. There are a few different lo-fi playlists on Spotify. I'll try to either link them down below or at least like put the names of them down below, but they're just like so relaxing, but they also help me focus really well when I'm working. They just kind of get me into a groove, and yeah, I love lo-fi music, and I'll just listen to it anytime. Like in the car, when I'm cooking, like it's one of those genres that's just good for any occasion. What's my favorite song at the moment? Oh gosh, I don't know if I can pick just one favorite, but one favorite that I have at the moment is from Kishibashi, and that he's kind of like a lesser known artist, but he's like, it's interesting. He was born in Seattle, Washington, but he now lives in my college town, which is like in Georgia, other side of the country. And just a really cool guy. He's classically trained on the violin, and he's just extremely talented, but his music is also just really fun and upbeat. Some of it's not upbeat, but most of it is. But a song from him that I've been loving lately, that I've been like listening to on repeat, so I guess you could say it's like one of my favorite songs right now, is called Summer of 42. A few questions about my job. What do you do for work? What's your profession? And what looks do you wear at the office? So I work for a public health and nutrition advocacy nonprofit organization. That's a mouthful. It's a very small kind of startup nonprofit. It launched in like spring of 2017, and that was when I was hired on. So it's a startup, very small. There's 4 of us on the team. My role, so my title, I guess, is advocacy coordinator. Basically, I do a lot of like volunteer management type stuff, and I do work from home. Some of you guys know that. Got a few questions about that as well. So what looks do I wear at the office? My office is at home, so I usually don't wear makeup to the office unless there's like a video conference call that day. It depends. If it's like just my boss, like she doesn't really care, I usually don't wear makeup if I'm just like talking to my boss really quick. But If it's like a slightly more important meeting, I guess, with someone like outside the organization, sometimes I will put on a little bit of makeup. Usually it's just like mascara and brows, unless I was filming that morning, or I don't know, or if I like had to go somewhere at some point during the day. Usually I don't wear any makeup at the office. And then some of you asked specific questions about working from home. So how did you find a good stay-at-home job? I wasn't really looking for a work from home job specifically. It just so happened that this job is that kind of a job. A lot of the jobs that I was looking into, I wanted to work for a nonprofit, and a lot of nonprofits, especially like national ones, do have like completely remote teams. So the whole team works from home. That's how mine is. They're all 4 of us. We live in different states. We all just work from home or from coffee shops or libraries or wherever. The reason why a lot of nonprofits operate that way is because it just saves money that would otherwise go towards paying for an office space, that can then instead go towards actual programs and like what the organization is set out to do. So it saves resources that can actually go towards making a difference. That's the reason why I work from home. But again, I was just kind of lucky that that's the way it worked out. And then another one of you asked, was it an adjustment to start working from home, and how do you like it? So yeah, I started this job right after college. So going from being in college and being, pretty active on campus, pretty social. College is just a very social time, especially if you live with friends and roommates and stuff. It's very social. And then I went straight from that to working from home full time. So it was a shock, and it definitely took some adjusting. It's still not, it's very lonely working from home. There are a lot of great things about working from home. Like, it allows me to have a more flexible schedule. I don't have to spend time and money commuting somewhere every single day. So that in that way, it's great. Like, there are a lot of great things about it, but it's lonely. Working for a company where you're not actually with your coworkers, but you all still are working together very closely, that's hard. Like, it's hard. It's harder to communicate. It's harder to know all the time what's expected of you. It requires a lot of careful communication, and it's different. And I don't think I want to work from home forever. This is my first full-time job out of college, so I've never experienced like a normal office job, and I think I would like to experience that someday, where I'm actually working with people, because it almost kind of makes the job feel less real. How do you like it? I do like I said, I like certain parts of it. I like not having to go anywhere. I can just wake up, get ready for the day, get dressed, and then I'm like already in my office, So there's a lot of great things about it. I do like a lot of things about it, but a lot of things I don't like about it. But that's kind of true for any job. There's always going to be trade-offs. So a few questions specific to Seattle. I do live in Seattle. I moved here about 6 months ago from Georgia, so I moved across the country. One of you asked, was it difficult to move across the country? I think the difficult part was deciding that I was actually going to do it. I was able to keep the same job, which was really nice. That made the transition a lot easier. The great thing about my job is that I can live wherever I want to, so I wanted to take advantage of that freedom while I had it. And so that part of moving, at least that big part of my life, was able to kind of stay constant, which was nice. I feel like the hardest part was honestly telling my parents. They were sad when I decided that I wanted to move all the way across the country. One of you asked, where do your parents live? They live in Georgia. I grew up in Georgia. I went to college there. My parents still live there. It's about a 5-hour plane ride, so in my mind it's like, well, it's only a plane ride away. Like, it doesn't feel that significant to me, but it was kind of a big thing for them to get used to. So that was really hard, but actually doing it was not that hard. I had a friend drive here with me, and then she flew back, one of my best friends. It was really fun, honestly. It was fun. Like, that road trip was really fun. Very fast. We drove here in 3 days, so a lot of driving, like 15 hours a day, 3 days in a row. Yeah, that part of it was just fun. It was so nice to have someone there supporting me through it. And when I got here, I was able to find an apartment really quickly. Everything fell into place so nicely. I cannot complain at all about how this went, and it really wasn't as hard as it seems. A lot of people are like, oh wow, you're so brave for doing that, and yeah, but it doesn't have to be a big scary thing if you don't want it to be, you know? The other thing that made it easy was that I pretty much spent the whole year before that, after college, just saving up as much money as I could. So the financial stuff wasn't a big worry to me. So that made it a lot easier as well. What is your favorite and least favorite thing about living in Seattle? Least favorite thing is how expensive it is. Sometimes I'm seriously like, why did I decide to move here again? Like, but I knew how expensive it would be going into it, so that's just one of those things. You do get used to it. You learn to adjust your budget accordingly. So, but I don't love how expensive it is. I mean, I'm paying way more in rent now than I did, you know, when I didn't live here. So that is one thing I don't love about it, but everything else kind of makes it worth it. What is my favorite thing about living in Seattle? I just love living in a big city. I think I'm learning that. This is the first time I've ever lived in a big city, and I am an introvert, and I think that that's actually part of it, because it's nice to know that you're not really being noticed that much. I always lived in really small towns. I went to a tiny high school. I was just kind of used to that like small town feel, which has its perks too, but I think that like living in a big city is ideal for me, because I don't know, I just love how many people are here. I think it's so cool. Obviously, I like living in like a quiet apartment. I don't want to be like in the center of like downtown Seattle. Like that would not be for me. You know, I like being in kind of a quiet neighborhood, but it's just nice to know that there's so much out there and I'm like not really being noticed, other than like in my own circle of friends and people that I associate with. So, and then I also just love how much there is to do here. Like you just never get bored. I love how many vegan restaurants there are. There's just like always things to do here, and I love that too. Now getting into all the questions about like my personal life, and also just like interests that I have outside of YouTube, all kinds of questions like that. So, how old are you? I am 24. Okay, here's a good one. Do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or do you enjoy being single? I actually have been dating a guy for a couple months now, actually for a while, since like November. I guess I tend to be kind of private about these things, like even a lot of people in my life, like it takes me a while to kind of like tell people about this kind of thing, but yeah, we've been dating for a few months now, and he's really sweet. He's also from the South, which is interesting. Like we actually he moved here last summer, so we're both kind of new to Seattle, and like we're both from the South, so we kind of have similar backgrounds. He's also vegan, and he has a really, really unique sense of humor. Like he's very calm and very quiet, and like he's hysterical though. Like he'll just like say something that was like totally unexpected, but it's just like where do you come up with these things? But yeah, that's the answer to that question. What is your spouse preference and outlook on family? So spouse preference, I think I do want to get married someday. I've always assumed that I would, and yeah, I do want to get married someday. It's not like one of my main life goals. Like I'm just fine with just letting that happen whenever it happens. I'm not like, I want to be married by the time I'm 28. Like it'll just happen when it happens, and it's not something I want to rush or like take lightly. And I think I'd want to date someone for like at least 3 years before I would consider marrying them. But who knows? I mean, as you get older, I'm sure that changes. So, but I do want to get married. And as far as, okay, and then outlook on family. So I'm guessing you mean like, do I want to have a family someday? Do I want to have kids? I've always been kind of undecided on whether or not I want kids, but I think that when I'm married, assuming I get married, and I'm with, obviously if I marry someone, I'm like, it's gonna be a guy that I just really love and feel like I can tackle anything with. So I feel like I might actually be up for that, you know, when I'm with someone who I've been in a long-term, like really trusting relationship with for a long time. Like I can see myself being like, yeah, like we can do this together. So I think that I actually do think that I might be down for having kids one day, but again, it's not like, that's not like one of my main goals that I have in mind right now. I feel like I'm 24 right now. I want to be at least 30 by the time I have kids. I want to be really ready. I want to be financially stable. I want to have a lot of like life experience behind me before I think I'll feel ready to do that. Do you have pets? If so, what kind? If not, do you want them? So I don't have any pets at the moment of my own, other than like my family. We have like my parents have a couple of cats, and they're like my favorite little angels. But I don't have any pets of my own right now, but I'm actually planning very soon to adopt a cat. And I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. I've always known that I would have cats of my own, like when I was an adult. I just wanted to wait until I was at a place where I was like feeling like really stable financially, and knowing that I don't plan on moving anytime soon to like a different geographical location. So I feel like now is the time to do it. And it's going to be such a pivotal moment for me when I do adopt a cat. I mean, it's probably going to be in the next couple of months, because this apartment that I've just moved into, it's cat friendly, and yeah, I'm ready to do it. So pretty soon. I'm kind of like doing my research right now, trying to figure out what rescues I want to go to. But yeah, it's going to be a big moment. Like, I feel like for me, it's as important as it is to some people to have kids. I want to make sure that I'm like the best cat mom that I can be, What are some of your favorite shows to watch? I'm not big on watching TV, but some of my favorite shows are Friends. So basic, I know. But who doesn't love Friends, right? Seinfeld, I love Seinfeld. It's like so old school, but I just love that kind of humor. I recently, these days, if I'm gonna sit down and watch something, it's probably gonna be like Queer Eye. I watched a few episodes of Tidying Up. That was good. It wasn't like binge worthy. I wasn't like, oh, I can't stop watching this. Like, it was just fun. It was like lighthearted and fun to watch, but it wasn't like, I didn't think it was, I wasn't like hooked on it. But I've watched a few episodes of that. That's about it. I'm not big into watching like Netflix and stuff, because honestly, I don't feel like I really have time. But yeah, that's a few of my favorite shows, or shows that have been like my go-to. Are there any good upcoming movies you want to see? Not really. I'm not that into movies either. I don't really go to the movies that often. I don't know. I'm just not a big movie person. I know that sounds kind of weird, but okay, here's a hard one. What's your biggest goal? 1, for yourself, and 2, for the world? I don't know if I have any goals that are like, okay, by like, this date, 5 years from now, I want to do such and such. I don't know if I have any really concrete goals like that. Maybe I should, but one goal is just to keep going on YouTube and see where it takes me. I do kind of eventually want to be able to do this and make like a significant income from it. It's not to say I wouldn't want to have like backup career options, if it didn't work out, but I do, that is kind of one of my biggest goals, actually. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but... And then for the world, I'm kind of thinking like, in my lifetime, what do I want to see? I would love to see the end of factory farming in my lifetime. I know that it will end one day, but I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime, but I would love for that whole industry to just be like taken down. There's a lot that needs to happen in order for that to become a reality, but that is a goal. I would love for animal testing to come to an end. I just want people to stop being mean to animals. That's my goal for the world. Okay, a lot of questions about like my other hobbies outside of makeup and YouTube. Do you have any other passions besides makeup? So I would say that my big passion outside of makeup would be just like animals. I've just always loved animals so much. I mean, like even as a kid, when I think I was in like 4th grade, I would organize bake sales to raise money for the local humane society, like things like that. Like animals have just always been so important to me. I really do feel like a strong connection with animals, and I just love them, and I've always wanted to help them in any way that I could. That's a lot of the reason why I have a channel, is to promote cruelty-free stuff. But I mean, I'd love to get into like volunteering at like animal shelters and animal sanctuaries and stuff, because that kind of stuff just like feeds my soul, you know? But yeah, any kind of animal stuff, I'm into it. Oh, that sounded wrong. What are some of your favorite things to do in your spare time? I mean, I love like cooking, doing things outside. I like hiking. I think I like the idea of hiking more than I actually like hiking, but anything kind of outside, exploring different like parks and stuff. Yeah, I mean, normal stuff like that, I guess. But YouTube is my main hobby. It does take up the majority of my free time. What other interests do you have besides beauty? What are some favorite podcasts, non-beauty YouTube channels, and books? Another person asked, what's your favorite book? The only podcast that I really listen to regularly, at least for now, is called Unfuck Your Brain, and it's hard to explain, but it's kind of just about like building confidence and stuff. I would recommend that podcast to anyone. It's been like really life-changing for me. It's by this woman. She's a life coach. She graduated from Harvard Law School, so she was a lawyer for a long time, and now she's a life coach, and she's brilliant. And she just the whole podcast is kind of about like thought work and the idea of kind of training and rewiring your brain to just have more confidence and like get out of your own way, kind of. So it's just been really helpful for me in a lot of ways. And so that's my favorite podcast. I don't listen to a ton of podcasts because, I don't know, it's hard for podcasts to kind of grab my attention, and a lot of times they're just too long. One thing I really like about Unfuck Your Brain is that it's short episodes. Most of them are like 20 minutes or less. Non-beauty YouTube channels, the main non-beauty YouTube channel that I love is The Financial Diet. They also have like a blog, an Instagram, a book. It's all about like personal finance type stuff, which sounds like the most boring topic ever, but somehow they managed to make that really interesting. And that's kind of what got me into like budgeting and stuff like that. They present it in a way that's just like very approachable and fun and interesting. And so I love The Financial Diet. Definitely recommend checking out their YouTube channel and also like their Instagram. They have a blog with like tons of articles about all kinds of things related to finance and even just general like adulting. I've found that like just to be a really helpful resource. And then the other non-beauty YouTube channel that I've been watching lately, most of the channels I watch are beauty, but the only other non-beauty one I can think of right now is The Cranky Vegan. I don't watch a lot of vegan YouTubers because most of them drive me insane, but The Cranky Vegan, he's done a lot of animal rights activism, and he has a lot of very like different ideas when it comes to like how we can be helping animals better. And I definitely recommend that channel if you are vegan or into any kind of animal rights activism. It's very, very eye-opening, and he says a lot of stuff that I think we all need to be thinking about, because at the end of the day, like, we can always do better to help animals, and that's kind of his, like, he's kind of starting the conversation with that. And then what's your favorite book? I'm embarrassed to say this, but I am a terrible reader. Like, I have not read for pleasure since I used to a lot in school, like in high school, and then college happened, and ever since then it's hard to find the time to sit down and read, honestly. And I don't consider audiobooks to be reading. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I just finished reading this book. They actually just listen to it on audiobook. That's different. I mean, yeah, you consumed the book, but you didn't actually sit there and read it. I can't listen to audiobooks because I just get distracted. Like, I can't actually focus on what they're saying. So I actually do have to like read a book like the old-fashioned way. But I used to really love John Green when I was in high school, and I actually did read more for pleasure. John Green, like Looking for Alaska, he's kind of like a young adult author, so I feel like I've maybe kind of outgrown those books now. But back in the day, like John Green, like Paper Towns, like all the John Green books were like my jam. But I honestly don't really have a favorite book these days. A lot of books are just boring to me. Like, a lot of books are just not that good. I don't know if that sounds pretentious or what, but I don't know. I really liked the Financial Diet book. That was more like nonfiction kind of stuff, but yeah, do you guys have any book recommendations? I really do want to get back into reading, and maybe that's something I can start to incorporate on my channel more, like in maybe once a month or every couple months. I can include that at the end of the month, like in my favorites video, like talk about the book that I've been reading. Yeah, let me know. That could be interesting. I don't know if I'll do it, but are you crafty? Do you sew, knit, crochet, have a planner, etc.? I'm not super crafty. My real like creative outlet is YouTube. I do have a planner, but I'm not like a not a crafty planner. Like I don't do stickers and washi tape and all that stuff. I really just use it to kind of plan out my days and make sure that I'm not forgetting appointments and stuff like that. And I'll use it to make to-do lists and stuff. I just have a really basic planner that I bought from Walgreens. It's like a normal monthly and weekly planner. It works, that's just like a basic planner I think is all I really need. I used to have a passion planner and I kind of just got tired of how like structured it was. Like it was like one of those where every single hour of the day is listed, and I just don't feel like I need that. Like that kind of stresses me out. Like I just need a general plan. I probably could afford to be more specific about how I structure my days, but for now, just a normal plan. Sorry, I keep stretching my legs because my legs are like getting kind of sore from sitting for so long, but yeah, normal planner, nothing too crafty. I'm really not super crafty, but I can enjoy a good crafty project every now and then. Do you have or want any piercings or tattoos? So I just have my ears pierced, just one hole. I don't have any tattoos or other piercings. I used to have my nose pierced. In fact, if you go back to like the first videos on my channel, you'll see it. But my nose piercing actually closed up, and like it was kind of a sad story. Like I was getting out of the shower one day and my towel caught on my little stud. I just had a little stud in my nose. My towel caught onto it and pulled it out, and it didn't actually hurt as bad as you would think. I know that sounds horrible and gruesome, but that happened, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, okay, let me try to put this back in. The hole had closed up completely in 5 minutes. And it had already healed. It had been kind of irritated though, so I don't know what happened, but I do kind of miss it from time to time. But the only thing about having a nose piercing is that it makes, or any kind of facial piercing I guess, is that it makes makeup application a little bit more challenging. And so I don't know if I'll get it pierced again because makeup is pretty important to me. So, you know, priorities. But yeah, ears are the only piercing I have right now. I've thought about getting a tattoo, but I have a really hard time committing to a tattoo. Like it would have to be something very special. So maybe one day, but right now I don't. What kind of phone do you have? I have just an iPhone 8. Up until recently I had the iPhone 5S, and so I kind of upgraded to this one recently, and it's working really well for me. I like the camera. I take most of my like Instagram pictures on my phone. Yeah, it's a good phone. Solid. I'm not too picky, but I do like iPhones. I'm like team Apple with computers and with phones. I just like Apple. What's the last thing you bought? So let's see. I'm assuming you just mean anything and not like makeup. Last thing I bought, yesterday I went to Value Village, and I love Value Village. It's a thrift store kind of like Goodwill. And I bought a chair, like a folding chair, just as kind of a temporary chair because I'm kind of trying to get like a makeup vanity area set up. And I bought a raincoat because I've been living in Seattle for 6 months and I still didn't have a raincoat. Finally found one, and it was like $7, so finally have one of those now. So that's the last thing I bought. What stores do you like to shop at for fashion accessories? Mostly thrift stores. I love, like I said, Value Village, Goodwill, Plato's Closet, places like that. I do prefer to shop at those kinds of stores. But I also just love a good old Target run. Like Target's just a fun store. I'm pretty simple. I honestly don't go shopping for clothes and accessories that often, but when I do, those are my go-tos. How would you describe your clothing / fashion style? It really depends. I wear a lot of just like casual, like athleisure type of clothes throughout the week because I work from home, so I usually just wear like right now, leggings, V-neck t-shirt, very simple. But when it comes to like the rest of my wardrobe, I do like to kind of I don't know, I guess I like some kind of like vintage styles, although I don't own any like real vintage clothing. That type of style. What else? I'm looking at my closet right now. I don't even know how to describe my fashion sense. It really does alternate quite a bit. Pretty much whatever is cute. I don't really follow like specific trends, like, oh, this is trendy right now. I don't know how to follow that kind of thing. But I mean, I like things with like polka dots, stripes. I do like cardigans sometimes, but they have to be like a certain style of cardigan. I just bought like a kind of distressed looking denim skirt from Target the other day. I don't know, it varies a lot. Do you believe in ghosts or aliens? Aliens, probably. I feel like there have to be some aliens out there. They have to exist. Ghosts, I would rather not believe in ghosts. I'm sure, I don't know. I just don't want to think about it. Like, they probably exist, but I don't like to think about it. I would rather not believe in ghosts just for my own sake so that I don't get myself creeped out. Tell us something that only a few select people know about you. Back in like elementary and middle school, I was really into spelling bees. I actually in 8th grade made it to the state spelling bee, and I came in 2nd place in the Georgia state spelling bee, which if I had lived in any other state, okay, I actually probably would have gotten to go to the national spelling bee, but Georgia is stupid and they only send one person. Well, they send 2 people. One person is just from like this tiny region in like the eastern part of Georgia, and then one person from like the whole rest of the state. And most states send like 5 to 8 kids, maybe even 10 kids to the spelling bee. So, I mean, if I had lived in any other state, I probably would have, but it doesn't matter anymore. But I'm a very good speller. Like, I can see, like, if I see a word once, like for the first time, I'll just remember how to spell it forever. I don't know what, like, it's not a very useful skill, because now, I mean, spell check will tell you everything you need to know. But I mean, I'm very good at spelling. That is one of my hidden talents. Okay, let's speed this up. What are some of your pet peeves? Just general apathy. I think like when people are apathetic and just don't really care about anything, like they don't really have any issues they care about. Bad drivers, I mean, who doesn't find that annoying? Also smokers, cigarette smoke, get that away from me. It's 2019, like this should not be a thing anymore. What did you study in college? Was it a hard time for you exam-wise and social-wise? So my major in college was linguistics, and I also minored in Spanish and music. It was definitely hard, especially just like academically, it was hard. I got very burnt out by the end because, I don't know, it's just stressful. Like there's a lot of expectations that you feel like you have to be living up to, and it's hard. It was also hard to pick a major, and I kind of wish I would have explored more options. I started out as a music major, then I switched to statistics, and then I switched to linguistics, and then that's what I settled on. But I wish I would have thought more about like what the career outlook was like for my major, because I should have thought about that more. There's not a whole lot you can do with a linguistics degree, and I don't know why that wasn't important to me when I was in college, but it's hard to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life when you're 18, 19 years old. I honestly kind of wish that it was more standard for people to wait until they're like 25 or 26 to go to college, and maybe work for 4 or 5 years after high school and just learn more about yourself before you have to make that kind of huge decision. Yeah, it's just, it was hard. Socially, I loved the social aspect of college. I really enjoyed being involved in different like student organizations. I definitely learned more about myself through the social side of college than I did through the academic side. And then the last question, this is a really good question. What advice do you have for someone in their early 20s transitioning from college to the real world? I would say, okay, my main advice would be don't like rush. Don't feel like you have to rush and have the perfect job right away. And don't feel like you have to do something super cool and amazing as soon as you graduate. I would really strongly suggest, especially because it's probably going to be the first time that you have a full-time job, save up as much money as you can. Don't like take advantage of the fact that you're getting like a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month and spend it. Put it into savings, build up an emergency fund, take care of all of that, and then the next year or the year after that, you can start to think about what you want your next step to be. And I mean, also remember that like no job, no matter if your first job out of college, whether you're starting like a corporate 9-to-5 office job or you're waitressing at a restaurant, not that either one of those jobs is any more of a real job than the other, or anything in between. Like no job is going to be 100% fulfilling. You know, there are going to be fun parts to a lot of jobs, but there are also going to be things that you don't enjoy. You're going to have to deal with people you don't like. You're gonna have to do tasks that you don't enjoy, like administrative paperwork type tasks at work that nobody's gonna find fun. You know, emailing people, all that stuff. Like there are gonna be parts to any job that you don't enjoy. don't just let that discourage you and make you want to quit right away. Let whatever your first job out of college is be a learning experience and stick it out as long as you're not being like harassed or bullied at your job and, you know, something like that where that kind of thing needs to be reported. I think it's worth it most of the time to stick with it and learn from it. I've had the same job for about 2 years since I graduated college, and I spent that first year I lived in like a 4-bedroom townhome with roommates. I could have afforded a 1-bedroom in that town if I'd wanted to, but I chose to, you know, live below my means so that I could really focus on saving money. If living with your parents is an option the first year out of college, by all means do that. Don't be ashamed of, you know, doing that kind of thing. It's only gonna be probably for a year. Let that first year be the year that you get your financial life together. I think that's my main advice, because that's what I did, and that's why now I was able to decide to move across the country, and that wasn't like a huge financial burden for me because I was able to make that possible for myself. And then 2, just, you know, be patient, don't rush, and don't expect everything to fall into place right away, because it's not going to. You're probably going to feel very discouraged and very lost in that year or 2 or 5 after you graduate. I mean, I'm only 2 years out of college now, and it's, you know, it's not going to be easy. I don't think it is for most people. So just let it happen and let it be a learning experience, and don't beat yourself up. That was kind of a deep note to end this video on, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that this was fun. That's gonna finally conclude this Q&A. I wish I could have put this all into one video, but that just wasn't happening. So thank you to everyone who did leave a question. You guys had some really good questions, and I'm glad that we were able to discuss a lot of different things that we don't normally discuss here on my channel. So thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.